wanted to highlight that for the court.
So would the idea be to queue each of them up, the portions that were shown before, and say, do you want to watch this? We could do that.
Yes, Your Honor. Or if they were able to describe an event or something that came up in closing or something to orient what they want to watch. Like we want to see when the Pontiac arrives, or we want to see when, and they may not be able to give that clarity, but I just wanted to highlight that because it may make it more efficient when we publish it.
Ideas on that?
I think if we just ask in a non-leading way what portion of each, because the same thing, my understanding, and maybe I'm wrong, in the letter, in the note, they said something about McDaniel Street.
Right. It said the drive-by shooting. I mean, that one we know what they mean, right? And the Texaco Northside McDaniel Street.
So I think if they, I believe I know what camera they want to see from outside the barbershop, but even with the barbershop, we had 4, I think, different cameras.
So
if we just get clear.
if everybody thinks they know which of each it is and y'all agree, then we can just start with those and say, is this the one you mean? Or is there another one?
With the Texaco, though, I'm not sure which one they mean because there's so many different cameras at the Texaco. With the McDaniel Street barbershop, I'm pretty
Well, I
confident.
don't think it's the one from inside the barbershop.
No, not,
That
but
one
there's
wouldn't
2
be helpful.
outside the barbershop. So, but I think it's probably the one that shows the actual shooting, I'm guessing.
Well, we can start with that one.
Yeah.
And then say, is that the one? There's another one. Would you like to
Right.
see that one too? And then we'll say yes,
That's-
honestly. But
That's fine with that, with the
Yeah.
barbershop. But with the Texaco,
Right.
there's so many options. I think we have to ask them what they specifically want to see. I mean,
what are the, I mean, do y'all want to put a description of each of them together and we can send it out and say, circle the one or ones you want to see? I mean, I don't know how else to,
yeah, I get, because there's kind of an
I
inside
mean,
Texaco and an
describe what
outside
you want to
Texaco.
see seems,
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about the Texaco? No, the Texaco there's multiple insides. Maybe there are multiple insides in the Texaco. Well, we could just ask them, do they want to see the inside of the Texaco or the outside of the Texaco?
okay, I mean, that much we can do.
Yeah. Can I jump back to where the 57, 58, 61?
In a second, Sergeant Brown, can you go ask them to let us know whether the video from the Texaco they want to see is the interior or the exterior? And if they can give us any more detail about what they want to see. if they've, just ask the question that I asked you to ask them.
Okay.
If they want to clarify further, that way they can.
It, okay.
Don't want us talking while
I
the jury
understand.
door is open. Okay.
57, I think I misspoke on 57 where I said there were two ways. Rereading 57, count 57. It looks like without the possession of the marijuana, they can't do 57, 58, or 61. So that may be what they're referring to. Because of the possession of a firearm during commission of a felony in 57 requires 58 and 61, which is the marijuana again. So that may be what they're talking about with 57, 58, and 61. Is the possession of marijuana with intent to distribute. Because wasn't there also a question regarding intent that came to us?
Yeah, they originally said, well, no, I'm sorry. On their second one, they said, please clarify the wording intent to distribute and underline the word intent. So I'm looking for where I explained intent to distribute and intent right now. And let's see.
The intent to distribute is defined at the bottom of
Yeah.
page 23.
Yeah. Which they have out with them, so obviously that's not helping them. Maybe. I mean, I'll read that part over to them.
That's another one of our circular definitions that ended up in here. Or recursive definitions.
So on that, I would propose to say that for, which count is it? Is that count 58 or count?
The possession with intent to distribute, Your Honor? It's actually an element of
Well,
all
I know,
three.
but so for possession with intent to distribute means that Mr. Kendrick, frankly, if you go back to the knowledge part that I charged on page 13, knowingly and intentionally participated or helped in possessing marijuana, intending to unlawfully deliver or sell it.
Yeah, I agree that that incorporates the
Okay.
proper definitions.
So the state must prove.
Your Honor?
Hang on.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I just need to get this down and then just hold your thought. Let's turn our phones off. Oh, that's one of the jurors' phones. It's in a box over here. Okay, maybe you can go figure out and like put them all on vibrate or something. All right, yes.
Part of the instructions the court had read that may be helpful is where it's page 11 and 12.
Okay.
It describes criminal intent. Intent may be shown in multiple ways. Criminal intent does not mean, it starts right on the bottom of page 11. Intent is an essential element of any crime. And then I believe it continues to discuss about intent right through the middle of page 12, and then goes on to describe party to a crime. But that instruction about intent could also be beneficial, the state believes.
I mean, the most helpful part of that is it means the intent to commit the act that is prohibited by a statute, which is specifically with regard to this one, intending to unlawfully deliver or sell marijuana. I'm thinking about saying on intent to distribute, possession of marijuana with intent to distribute. The state must prove that Mr. Kendrick knowingly and intentionally participated in or helped in possessing marijuana, intending to unlawfully deliver or sell it. And find out whether that
That sounds
covers
like
what
the
they
right,
were asking.
that sounds like the right course to Mr. Kendrick. when you have a second, I just want to go back to 57, 58, and 61.
Sure, I mean, I know we need to
Okay.
get that.
I know, but I don't want to do that if you're still
Yeah,
writing
I
or thinking
appreciate it.
or,
All right, yes.
okay. Um, Regarding their question about the separateness, interrelatedness, whatever term they used at 57, 58, and 61,
Yeah.
I just think it would be, perhaps it would answer their question if you went back and explained that possession of marijuana with intent to distribute is a required finding of each of those three, and that may help explain that.
Okay.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, when the court allows, I have a question.
Hang on. All right, yes, ma'am.
The court may have already answered this question, but I don't know whether what Mr. Atkins just referred the court to was the part about intent may be inferred from the proven circumstances or by acts and conduct. Did the court respond to that?
I'm not planning to read all of that unless when I read the first part and ask them if it covers what they were asking. If they say no, then I'll circle back and read that whole part. Did they get back with us on the video thing? Do they know to do the light? I mean, they were doing it earlier, all right. All right, let's see. Please provide the videos of the following: the gas station when Yak was getting into the car, camera in front of the station. Y'all understand what that means? Okay, and then number 2, the drive-by shooting in front of the barber shop on McDaniel Street on Donovan Thomas. They
Yes.
clarified that one for us too.
Judge, there are there are 4 camera angles of the drive-by shooting, so we'll be prepared to play one of them or all of them, whatever they prefer. There are 4 different camera angles of the drive-by shooting. I'm presuming they mean the one that actually shows the shots, but there
I would think so. So let's start with that one and ask them, is this the one you meant?
Yes.
So they added, Mr. Weinstein, also, please have Attorney Weinstein clarify if he said my client's watch or where is the watch regarding the Richard Milley watch, which is in no way, I mean, it's a total red herring. And good for you for distracting them, but that is not an element of anything they're supposed to be considering.
I don't believe that was a red herring, and it went to the credibility of law enforcement.
That's
when there are
true,
witnesses.
but
So I would disagree with that characterization
anyway,
of the
what
court.
did you say?
I said, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't say his watch. I probably said the watch. If I said his watch, that would have been I would have misspoken.
Okay. So I will just say, Mr. Weinstein did not say my client's watch. If he did, he misspoke.
I probably said, where is the watch that was a gift, a 30th birthday
Where
gift
is
from
the watch?
Drake to Mr. Williams.
All right,
and
so
of great
I'll just
sentimental
answer
value.
that he said, where is the watch?
Your Honor, would the court be inclined to respond that what the attorneys say is not evidence?
Yes, that's
And
an
that should
excellent
not be
idea.
even a consideration,
Uh-huh.
rather than telling
Yes.
them what he said.
I mean, I'm going to do both.
It was definitely the watch.
I'll just say, Mr. Weinstein said the watch. However, what the attorneys say is not evidence. How about that? Does that work? Remember that what the attorneys say is not evidence. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, 292 Yankee Alpha is the shooting barbershop surveillance footage. I know when the shooting happens. I wanted to ask on the record or defense counsel, there's about 8 minutes that plays before the shooting occurs.
Can't imagine that's what they want.
I don't want to just, I want to tell, for the record, or agree with defense counsel, find a portion we can all agree to start that video.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's fine to start
Okay.
a minute before
Okay.
whatever. That's fine.
Thank you.
But thank you for clarifying that and mentioning that.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
I'm going to say, however, remember that nothing that the attorneys say is evidence. or the explanation of possession with intent to distribute, moving on to whether you need to group counts 57, 58, and 61 individually or separately. You need to consider them individually and reach a verdict as to each separately. But possession of marijuana with intent to distribute would need to be proven for count 58, count 61, and count 57. And I'm putting them in that order because that's kind of the order that 58 is possession with intent to distribute. 61 is possession of the gun because while you're committing that crime. And then 61 is if you're committing that crime, are you then potentially committing gang activity?
Yeah, I understand. That's a far more natural order than may appear in the indictment, so.
All right. All right, are we satisfied then with the answers? And then we'll just have them, I think I'll have them watch the videos, and then answer their questions. Because that way, if there's any follow-up, they can let us know that. All right. Yes.
The intent is to play the Texaco footage first?
Yeah.
And then will they tell us when they want us to stop? Because they're at the Texaco for about 36 minutes. So what?
Do y'all know when you intend to start? Did we watch 36 minutes?
It was all in.
Okay.
I think they requested a very specific part, that Texaco.
Yeah.
Didn't they mention entering a car or
The
exiting?
gas station when Yak was getting into the car, camera in front of the station. So I think we start there.
Yeah.
And then
When he was getting.
I'll just,
Into the
that's what
car.
it says when
we have another category of gang. It's a hybrid gang. Ooh, a hybrid gang. This is fascinating. Let's talk about hybrid gangs. What's a hybrid gang? Oh, a hybrid gang is whatever we say it is at any given point in time to fit our narrative. That's what a hybrid gang is. I use the term nose of wax. They can twist it any way they want to fit the group of people they want and say they're a hybrid gang. It's a catch-all. It's a catch-all used to throw all kinds of people together and say, well, you don't meet the definition of a gang, but because we are gang experts that train each other, we have decided you are a hybrid gang. Well, hybrid gang. So a hybrid gang apparently is one where, according to their experts, Bloods and Crips can live together in peace and harmony with each other to accomplish some type of goal. Does that make sense to anyone in here that has any basic understanding of the way that gangs work? You've had the state's own witnesses come here on the stand and talk about how ridiculous it is that you can say, that anyone can say that YsL is a gang when you can have Bloods and Crips and Independents and all of these people be members of this alleged gang. As Mr. Sharp talked about, there's none of the traditional gang elements. There's no beating in. Anybody can call themselves a member of YsL. You know, someone, I guess, alleged there might be a $25 dues fee or something ridiculous to that effect. But there's nothing that shows them together as a gang. Oh, well, wait, they are a gang because look at these pictures of YsL wearing green clothing. That must mean they're a gang. You guys are mostly in blue and black. You associate with each other here today. Are you guys a gang? The state is all in red today. Are they a gang because they're all dressed in red? Poor Miss Hingerty happened to come in red today. I guess she's a member of the gang as well. It is absurd. Lil Wayne has ESPN on his arm. ESPN. I guess Lil Wayne is surprised that he's a member of YsL too. My client's got ESPN on his body. No, that can't be because he was a football star and in his mind probably liked ESPN. It must be because he's a member of a gang called YsL. So it's wonderful that the state's gang experts have such insights into the mental thinking of my client and Lil Wayne and everybody else. Now the state may say, well, they're not a gang, even though they all dress in red today, looking quite dapper. Because, well, they don't have some criminal objective. Well, I don't know. Let's look at the way the state indicts people. The state's around Investigator Viverito. Investigator Viverito is the last person I can find anywhere on video or that you've seen on video holding that missing $500,000 watch. Did she steal the watch? Was that an overt act and can further into the conspiracy? Maybe I should go to a grand jury and try to indict this. It's the state gang or something ludicrous like that. Everything gang investigators see is viewed from the viewpoint of it must be a gang. Mr. Kendrick, look at the photo they showed you of Mr. Kendrick in the bandana shirt. Go back and look at it in color. The gang investigator says it's red. It is orange. Orange as the sun. You look at it, you decide, don't take my word for it. Don't take their word for it. Don't take the state's words for it. Use your own eyes. But when you're a gang investigator, everything has to fit the narrative. And that's the narrative. The snake on Mr. Kendrick's chest. Did he get that snake because YsL is a gang? Or did he get that snake because it represents the tree of knowledge in the Adam and Eve story? Well, they can tell you. I saw a mentalist Saturday night at a show, and this mentalist was amazing. This mentalist, you would think of something, and the mentalist would tell you, oh my gosh, you know, you're thinking of a number between 1 and 50, it's 47. It's actually quite impressive. Apparently, Investigator Viverito and these other gang experts are mentalists. Maybe they will be at the next fundraiser I go to. I'd like to see some more of their tricks. Mr. Kendrick does modeling shots. So someone will say to Mr. Kendrick, hey, hold this hat. Oh, that's gang. The hat has a rat with a line through it. That's a gang activity. We're sending a message to everybody. There's a photo taken outside at the time of a video shoot for music. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, look at that. Gang activity. There's photos of Mr. Kendrick wearing clothes that say SLAT outside of a recording studio. More gang activity. More people trying to pull themselves out, get into music, exercise their First Amendment rights. More gang activity. It's just exhausting, folks. All right. The racketeering charge. Racketeering is very complicated, as you all know. And the state explained racketeering to you. So I'm not going to go into all of the details of what it takes for you guys to find racketeering. Although I do want to repeat, you have to find each of those elements beyond a reasonable doubt, and you're not going to be able to do that with Mr. Kendrick. So I only want to focus on a few parts. Just bear with me. It's late in the day. Late in the day. Just give me a little more time. A few parts of the racketeering charge. First of all, the state has not shown a conspiracy beyond a reasonable doubt. What is a conspiracy? It is an understanding to accomplish or pursue a common criminal objective. Criminal. There's been no common criminal objective shown. What has been shown to you and what was shown to you even earlier today? A series of independent, disparate acts over and over again. All kinds of different people committing criminal acts. I'm not going to argue to you that criminal acts were not committed, but they have not shown any relationship between these acts. They have not shown you anything that's shown it was done for a common criminal objective. That was not demonstrated. Again, as Mr. Sharp said, when Mr. Stevens was here, Tick, and Mr. Stevens was talking about selling pot, he did that for his own benefit. He's not paying up the ladder. And by the way, there is no ladder. Investigator Viverito told you because this is a hybrid gang, there's no structure to it. So I don't know how Mr. Tick is supposed to, Mr. Stevens is supposed to spread the money around. But it doesn't matter. They're going to say there's a common criminal objective. Nothing has been shown. Tick. I have to go on a side note on Tick, Mr. Stevens. Mr. Kendrick, Mr. Williams, they were trying to avoid the fate of Mr. Stevens. Mr. Stevens, remember, I'd love you to go back and listen, read his testimony. Remember, look at your notes. At the age of 11, society threw him away. They threw him away. They tossed him in juvie, where he learned about gangs and drugs and everything else. Threw his life away. And he's trying to get his life in order again. And he's dragged back into this. State says one of the objectives was money and power. Where's the money flowing? Where's the money? Where's the money coming in? The state had the power of the courts, their subpoena power. They could have gotten Jeffrey Williams' banking and financial records. They could have subpoenaed his accountants. They could have gotten all of that to see the money flowing. Did they do it? No. Why didn't they do it? Well, I'm going to argue to you they didn't do it because there was nothing there. If they did it, it would undercut their case about seizing Mr. Williams' assets, about seizing $8 million worth of jewelry that he earned in the music business, about seizing all of those cars, about seizing the ring off of his finger and keeping it. We don't want to see those records because we don't want evidence that he earned all of this from his music and his hard work. No efforts of money and power as part of a conspiracy deriving from this gang. The judge is going to tell you in your instructions, mere association with an enterprise is insufficient by itself to establish a conspiracy to violate the RICO Act. Mere association. And that's what you have here, mere association. A bunch of guys that grew up together, were around each other, and that some of whom were trying to make it out, and some of whom were trying to help others make it out. Mr. Kendrick was trying to make it out. Mr. Kendrick would not let himself be thrown away like happened to Mr. Stevens. So I don't believe there's a conspiracy that's been shown beyond a reasonable doubt. What else has the state not shown? Well, they've not shown a lot, but I'm just going to focus on a few. The state hasn't shown that Diamante Kendrick knowingly and willingly joined this conspiracy, and they must show that. Well, first of all, I understand their difficulty. I understand their problem. How do you show that you knowingly and willingly joined a conspiracy with a criminal purpose when one doesn't exist? So that's their first challenge. That's their first challenge. What did they do to try to show knowing and willing join? Well, he hung out with some guys that did some bad things. He allegedly is part of this YsL gang that's not a gang. And by the way, you heard testimony, Mr. Kendrick was signed to the YsL record label. So I guess he knowingly and willingly signed to the YsL record label, but that is not the same as knowingly and willingly joining a conspiracy. Depending on the outcome of this case, at least to this point, being signed to a record label, even a rap record label, is not a crime in the US.
So the state has these two witnesses, Quindarius Zachary and Kenneth Copeland. Those are the two witnesses. And I've been doing this long enough. They're horrible witnesses. They're liars. They have every reason to lie. They have every motivation to lie. They are inconsistent. They tell different stories every time they talk about the things they talk about. The state knows they're horrible witnesses. But here's what happens. In closing, the state says, they're not our witnesses. We didn't choose those witnesses. They're Shannon Stillwell's friends. He chose those witnesses. That's their line. They might not use it now because I already said it, but that's their line. But let's think about that for a second. That's not their witnesses. First of all, they're the ones that called them to the stand. But that's not their witnesses. Look at this indictment. 28 names. Quindarius Zachary? Is he on this indictment? No. Kenneth Copeland? Is he on this indictment? No. Are any of us going to really sit here and pretend that if the state was really being honest about who to charge about the events in 2015, 2014, 2015, that Kenneth Copeland wouldn't be on that indictment? Kenneth Copeland was a one-man crime wave in 2014, 2015. Yet he's not on this indictment. Quindarius Zachary was a straw purchaser for guns. Quindarius Zachary was right in the middle, the impetus for one of the overacts, the April 28th, 2015 shooting of houses. He's right in the middle of this. And they're not on the indictment? And we're supposed to pretend that the state aren't the ones that chose Kenneth Copeland
and Quindarius Zachary as their witnesses? Of course they did. Of course they did. And why did they choose them? What are the qualifications that Kenneth Copeland and Quindarius Zachary both had when it really comes down to it? They're two people that are willing to lie on others to get themselves out of trouble. That was one qualification that they had. And two, they are two people that happened to put themselves in situations, serious situations, that would require them to lie on others to get themselves out of trouble. Those were their two qualifications. And the state said, sounds good. We'll sign you up. You're our witnesses. You're no longer on this indictment. Let's talk about Kenneth Copeland's credibility. So use the same test you do for those quote unquote expert witnesses. What's his bias, his motive? How's he come across on the stand? What are his motivations? Well, we know he really hates jail. That was clear. I submit to you that it seems that not only does he hate jail, but he almost has a mental disorder about, he literally said, I'd rather die than go to Rice Street. That's extreme. He's told us, I would do anything to stay out of jail. I would lie on anyone to get myself out of trouble. He has his own term for what he does, the finesse. He really hates jail. What else do we know about Kenneth Copeland? Well, we know about, I'm going to ask y'all to think back and remember this when he was on the stand, a case, 21 CP 197618, State of Georgia versus Kenneth Copeland. Remember that? When he was actually in jail and he picked up another charge because he claimed that a jail worker attacked him and sprayed him with OC spray for no good cause. And he brought charges or tried to bring charges against this poor jail worker. What do we know? The surveillance from the jail was pulled. The investigators looked at it, as they should. Even Kenneth Copeland, a known liar, when he makes allegations against the police, yes, it should be looked into. And it was. And what did they find? No OC spray was emitted. In fact, the officer that was accused didn't even have OC spray on them at the time. So what happened to Kenneth Copeland in that case? Well, he was charged with false statement and false report of a crime, 2 felonies, excuse me. So as a result of his lie, he gets charged with these 2 felonies, false statement and false report of a crime. And it's pending, and it's pending, and it's pending. Then all of a sudden, as this case is ramping up, and Mr. Copeland's going to have to take the stand and be asked about his pending charges and his prior lies, all of a sudden, on January 18th, 2024, Fonnie Willis and her employee, Kenneth Hutcherson, quietly dismissed the case against Kenneth Copeland, the case of false statement, a case of false report of a crime. Why did they do it, according to that sheet? Was it, oh, we actually looked at the video again and it actually supported Kenneth Copeland? No. Was it the victim didn't want to prosecute? No. Prosecutorial discretion. They decided it was in their best interest to dismiss that case against Kenneth Copeland before he testified. Remember I told Kenneth Copeland about it? Thought he was going to get up and hug me. He said, my case is dismissed? Yep, sure was. State took care of you. You're not on this indictment either. Kenneth Copeland's a liar. He's a proven liar. And let's talk about his prior statements he made, because we know on June 10, 2015 is when he said Demekion Garlington gave him certain information and that Shannon Stillwell was one of the people responsible for killing Donovan Thomas. Demekian told him at the McDonald's. That's what Kenneth Copeland said on June 10, 2015. Well, we learned that Kenneth Copeland actually met with the police in 2015 4 times prior to that June 10, 2015 interview. We learned that he met with investigator Thorpe on January 11th. Now, mind you, all these meetings, presumably, if it were true, Kenneth Copeland would have that knowledge of what Demekian Garlington said to him for all these meetings. January 11, 2015, he goes in to talk to Thorpe. Doesn't say anything about Demekian Garlington telling him that Shannon Stillwell is involved in Donovan Thomas's murder. Places himself at the Green Store, which is less than a minute away from the scene of the Donovan Thomas murder. And he's asked about, specifically by Detective Thorpe, if he's ever rented or driven an Infiniti. And what does Kenneth Copeland say? No, never. Denies it completely. That's on January 11th. That's the night going into the morning after of the Donovan Thomas homicide. And of course, we know that's a lie because Kenneth Copeland was in the Infiniti on the night of January 9th with Quindarius Zachary. So he lies right off the bat to Detective Thorpe. January 28th, he meets with Thorpe, Dennis, and Gaither. Again, never mentions this supposed statement by Demekian Garlington about Shannon Stillwell being involved. In fact, he's asked specifically who he thought killed Donovan Thomas. He mentions his friend Doc and goes back and forth about whether Doc could have done it or not. He shares a theory about Donovan Thomas running off with someone's drugs. He shares a theory about Kelvin Watts robbing people and Donovan Thomas being caught in that situation. And he's also asked on January 28th about a rumor that he stole Donovan Thomas's chain. And what's he say? Oh, no, I didn't do that. Someone else apparently stole Donovan Thomas' chain, and they brought it to me, and I realized it was Donovan Thomas's stuff, and I returned it. I don't have any problems with Donovan Thomas. Me and Donovan Thomas are cool. He also said that on the 11th. So then we go to February 20th, the third statement he gave. Again, never mentions anything about what Demekian Garlington supposedly told him. And investigator Curry, asked him about the Donovan Thomas case. Doesn't know anything. And then on February 21st, with Gaither and Thorpe, he's again asked about the Donovan Thomas case. Never mentions, oh, Demekian Garlington at the McDonald's told me that Shannon Stillwell did it. Again, he's asked about Donovan Thomas's chain, and it's another lie. Oh, well, someone brought it to me. He sticks with that lie. Lie after lie after lie, denying beef with Donovan Thomas, denying stealing Donovan Thomas's chain, denying ever being in an Infiniti. But those are the statements.
the videos that you all requested, and then I'll move on to answering the questions. All right, go ahead with the first one.